Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Jess. So Bitcoin has been chopping sideways for about a month now in a major range, and when this consolidation usually develops, it sets the stage for something potentially much bigger, macro exhaustion. We've seen this pattern before, and the next couple of days of price action can really flip the script for Bitcoin. We're going to dive into the video today to talk about what exactly is going on in the price action and how strong it shows us that Bitcoin is right now, the key news to be watching out for, and the key triggers that could break this range, whether or not that leads to a sharp move downwards or a complete invalidation of the current bearish setup. If you're watching out for the next big move in the cycle, this is not a moment to overlook. Let's get into it. As always, before we jump in, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And sign up to my free Telegram for more regular Bitcoin updates. If you're a trader and you're interested in joining my VIP channel, be sure to message me down below on Telegram. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Alrighty guys, so jumping into the charts, let's really quickly talk about what's been going on in the price action and our most recent weekly candle close. So we can see currently over the last 2 to 3 weeks, Bitcoin has really been not doing all that much, right? We've seen a lot of short-term volatility, hence these quite large wicks to the top side and the bottom side here in the last couple of weeks, but the closes themselves have been very minuscule in terms of movement, and we've actually printed 2 doji candles back to back, right? The first doji candle was a little bit more bullish, right? We could see this sort of large liquidity grab into this weekly range over here, dipping as low as $100,000, but then we can see this sort of really rapid reabsorption of Bitcoin at those prices, reabsorption of that selling pressure, and we closed a candle just above the weekly range here. And overall, even though it was a doji candle, it was relatively bullish, right? It suggested a lot of buying pressure at those lower levels of support. Now, this most recent doji candle that is printed, though, is a little bit of a different story. So we've continued to print indecision, right? None of these are particularly strong candles, hence the body being so small. But we can see here that this one actually reflected a little bit of the opposite narrative, right? We have a larger wick to the top side than we do on the bottom side, showing us that Bitcoin has a massive amount of selling pressure up here as well, right? So we've seen lots of buying pressure in these lower levels of support and lots of selling pressure and in these upper ranges of resistance. Hence, 2 candles where we have essentially seen minimal move in Bitcoin and a continuing sort of narrative of really high indecision. Now, all of this is really important because when we take a broader look at the overall charts here on the weekly time frame, we can see that overarchingly, in terms of a macro perspective, Bitcoin is still definitely bullish, right? Characteristically is bullish. We're still in a massive macro uptrend. We are above a level of macro support, being this weekly range over here, right? Which we've talked about many times on the channel. But as we sort of see this indecision developing on a high time frame, 2 doji candles back to back on a weekly chart, it starts to paint another kind of story, right? We're seeing what could potentially be mapping out macro exhaustion here. We've seen a large rally upwards and a high time frame period of uptrending price action, and after breaking above that sort of high here, we've seen a deviation and an inability to sustain that deviation, potentially mapping out the start of what could be a reversal here on a high time frame for Bitcoin. So as we talk about how this uncertainty could be mapping out macro exhaustion and how this could really be flipping the charts bearish, we have to talk about what exactly is causing that uncertainty and that exhaustion, right? The decrease in buying pressure that we're seeing at these levels. And over the last couple of weeks, we have had a lot of economic news come out. So PPI came out and CPI came out, both of which were actually pretty bullish. But alongside that, of course, is the rising global conflicts that's happening, as I'm sure you all know about right now. And tonight, or in the next 19-20 hours, we also have the next federal interest rate decision, right? So that's in 17 hours and 59 minutes. And currently, as I'm sure you guys probably all know, the probability of seeing an ease is very low. But regardless, moving into those sort of really big pieces of economic news, such as the interest rate decision, there is going to be a little bit of a pullback in the market. Hence, we've seen a little bit of a drop throughout Bitcoin over the last couple of days, and also sort of this indecision, right? So the current climate really isn't supporting a lot of buying pressure from Bitcoin. Now, what we want to see, despite all of that uncertainty and the potential macro exhaustion developing here in the charts, is that Bitcoin retains movement above this current level of macro support at $104.4 thousand, right? And currently, so far over the last couple of weeks, that is exactly what we've been seeing, right? These doji candles, despite being indecision are still retaining movement above that macro range. And so moving forward and moving into this sort of period of price action, that is and continues to be the key level that we are really, really watching out for. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at the 4-hour chart then and talk about what exactly is going on in the smaller time frame price action as we chop right above 104.4 thousand, and what's going to either invalidate this really macro bearish setup that's going on right now or signal that it is right about to happen. So over here on the 4-hour chart, we can map out the sort of range that Bitcoin has been traveling in for the last 32 days. We've gotten a deviation high and a deviation low, but the overarching range still sits at 102.5 thousand, where we've seen multiple retests and sort of support bounces. And the top of that range is, of course, this sort of equal high resistance that Bitcoin has developed over the last 2 weeks at $110,000. So this range is sort of our neutral territory on the short time frame. If Bitcoin over the next couple of days manages to break above the top of this, as well as the deviation high or the buy side liquidity at $112,000, we're naturally going to flip the charts back to being bullish, right? We've sort of invalidated the macro bearish exhaustion that we're seeing, and very likely a doji candle would not print from that scenario, right? We would see quite an aggressive rally past that all-time high point at 112. And otherwise, pushing below this current level of support at 102.7, that is our major bearish trigger. This is what we're really sort of watching out for as the macro charts look so weak. And beyond that, we have, of course, our deviation low, this next level of support as well at 100,000 or 100,400. And that is where things start to look aggressively bearish on both the short time frame and the high time frame as well. Before we get into any more analysis, guys, let's take a quick moment to talk about one of the most important aspects of being a successful trader, managing your trading fees. If you're interested in supporting me and the channel, BTC is currently offering 15% off your trading fees if you sign up using my affiliate code. You can find it in the description or in the pinned comments, and it'll give you access to all BTC exclusive campaigns and sign-up bonuses, and I'm offering 10% off my VIP membership if you present me your BTC code. So if you're still searching for a great normal KYC exchange, definitely go take a moment to check BTC out. Now let's get back into the charts. Now, if we zoom out to the daily chart, we can see exactly how those trigger levels have confluence with dynamic levels of support here, as well as historical support on the daily chart as well. So taking a look here at the current monthly range, we can see that if Bitcoin was to drop below $103,000, the base of that range right now, oh sorry, not 103, well, 102.5, we would also lose the 50 EMA, which has acted as a major dynamic level of support ever since Bitcoin pushed above it at this sort of convergence of those two dynamic supports right here, right? This was the breakout point after pushing above the 2025 downtrend. And that 50 EMA has held as a dynamic level of support, right? We've even had 2 to 3 retests of that support in the last couple of weeks of price action. And so if we were to lose the range, we would also lose the 50 EMA support, sort of confirming that Bitcoin has a higher potential for a downwards tumble here. And retesting $100,000 here, we also retest this prior really macro level of support. We can see that generally when Bitcoin rejects from that 100K level, we see a dip as low as $93,000, right? We've seen that multiple times, and otherwise sustaining it as support, just like we did over here, we generally see a push back upwards. So this will be a really key trigger point, this range from 99.5 to 100.5 on the daily chart as well. And so that really sums up what is going on in the Bitcoin price action right now, right? We've been chopping sideways for the last couple of weeks. We're starting to print out some really bearish signals on those weekly charts, but none of that really matters until we sort of see the trigger points on the short time frame for either the move upwards and an invalidation of this bearish setup, or the sort of trigger point for the move downwards, where we very likely then re-enter the weekly range and potentially close below. Alrighty guys, that is a wrap on the analysis for today. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And join my free Telegram for more regular Bitcoin updates. If you're interested in my VIP trading channel, don't forget to message me down below on Telegram. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setup, so the exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!